Hello there, thank you for joining me. In a previous video, I mentioned that I'm starting to prep a little bit, and I wanted to talk to you guys about that, just sort of like my first steps here. Really feeling like, you know what, I should start preparing for the future, an uncertain future. I've been wondering what can I do right now that is going to help me to prepare for various uncertainties that I think are coming, insecurities in food, and various other things. So my first steps into that, I think, have been along the lines of like what's some long-term storage food. I think that's kind of a natural first step. So one thing I got here is this Bare Essentials. I got this off of Amazon, and this is not an advertisement for this. I just kind of wanted to let you guys know what I've been thinking, right? This is about 50 bucks. It has white rice, black beans, pancake mix, macaroni, and rolled oats, okay? These are just kind of basics, staple, carbs, essentially. And, but it's enough. I think it says on here, like, I don't know, however, 15 days worth based on a 2,000 calorie diet of food. Now, this is not the kind of food that you would want to eat just on its own, right? It's also the kind of food you're going to need fuel, some sort of way to heat it up, power or that sort of thing. You need water. That's pretty typical, I think, with most, certainly, emergency foods and things like that. But the nice thing about this is it's prepackaged in Mylar, with oxygen absorbers, so it's basically, it's going to have a shelf life. I don't remember what it says on it. I think maybe 25 year shelf life. Okay, so one of the things that I'm learning as I go through this process, I've tried other types of like hiking meals and things like that. There's a company called Mountain House, I believe. Their stuff is pretty good. I've actually gotten some MREs. They're pretty good. If this is 15 days, I'd like to have at least 3 months, 6 months, maybe a year's worth of food or more, stored away that I just know, if you just can't get anything at a grocery store for 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time or a year or something like that, like I don't have to worry at all. Like I'm fully prepared, right? So that's one of the things I kind of like about this. And I think that these sort of staple things, doing a little more research, are actually things that that store really well. As far as I know, probably store them in mason jars. I have to look into it a little bit more, but you could use your own Mylar bags and store things that way. You can get those oxygen absorbers. What I've read is that it's actually iron. It's just iron, like kind of like iron ore, iron dust in a packet. And what happens is it rusts inside of the packet. Now the packet's made so the rust doesn't get in your food, but it absorbs the oxygen, right? It's oxidization of the metals. And the nice thing about that is it does a couple things. One, it makes it an oxygen, less or oxygen-free environment, which is going to help preserve the food. It's also going to make it so that no, pests can live inside of the food either, which is very nice. So anyway, what I'm realizing is, like, instead of buying these packs, it's possible that I might just be able to go to the store, buy macaroni, put it in something like this, also with the oxygen absorber, or some other storage method, and basically like be able to do maybe even cheaper than buying this box of stuff. Do your own long-term storage prep. But I started with something like this. And it got me thinking along these lines, right? So one thing I did is I started cooking with these ingredients, and just being like, what can I make? What would I actually be like living off of these things, and what other things do I want with it? So one thing I'd like to do today is just show you one of my favorite recipes so far from this. So we're going to make some macaroni and cheese that is, I think, very kind of long-term storage food friendly. Some other things that I've done is I've gotten a dehydrator. A dehydrator to me seemed like a really great idea. I've just started dehydrating things here. This is these are green peppers. You can see there's a little different colors, mixed in there. But green pepper. I've got some onion here that I've dehydrated. Apples. We have apples here locally. There's a couple orchards not too far from me. So you can stock up on those. And I've been trying to get things a little more locally too. I think this also has to do with my fears of like food transportation and things like that. California is increasingly on fire. Increasingly, the water is less available. It's drier, and we grow so much of our food there, right? So these came from a farm stand here. These peppers, half of them are actually still in the dehydrator. These onions came from a local farm stand. These apples came from local orchards, right? Some people, I think, are going to be have been doing these things all along, right? For various reasons. But for me, it's becoming sort of more and more. I want to connect with the food sources that are available to me locally, because I feel like those are the food sources that are going to be reliable for me into the future. This is pears that I dehydrated. These are kind of like, wedges of pears. These are from my buddy's pear tree. Okay, so again, someone I know, I just wanted to try this out. These are just, they end up being crunchy. This isn't like, when you get this sort of stuff at the grocery store, it's sulfured and it's got, stuff added to it. This is just thrown in a dehydrator and dried. It's kind of crunchy, right? But it's really good. This is good as like just to munch on. A lot of pear flavor. It's just really concentrated pear flavor. And it's not like crunchy. I guess it's like, it's dried. But there's a softness to it. It's chewable, right? It's kind of chewy and dried. This isn't going to be about dry canning items. There are things that you can do to make these things last for longer. Mostly I'm just kind of trying to cook with these first, and then I'm going to be trying to prepare them for long-term storage later, maybe like next year. Some of these things I think I'm just going to want to be preserved for the winter, because I would like to be growing more of these things myself. You get the harvest and it's more than you can eat, right? So you're going to want to store it somehow. Drying it seems like the thing that I want to do. These are blackberries. I noticed that we have blackberry bushes in the yard. You absolutely can dry them. They're quite good. These ones are a little shriveled, I guess. That can happen. I think when you dry them, really what they're supposed to be like, so to speak, is more like this. If you can see it, it's a little puffier and a little lighter. It's more of a red color, and it tastes good, right? This is like probably a little better texture, I guess, than the ones that have like really kind of dried up. I think that this is more of a shriveled, a little bit more shriveled, but honestly the shriveled ones taste fine. They're good. They're both good. I think that the temperature that you dehydrate things at can help to get like a better quality dried blackberry. But yeah, anyway, I'm glad that we have those bushes. I'm going to be harvesting them every year and drying them out. So it's some things that I think are just no-brainers. I found that I want salt for things, right? On the off chance that we have trouble getting salt in the future. This is sea salt. I guess you don't want to do iodized salt. I put this in here 9, 11, 21. I haven't done anything to it other than put it in a mason jar. But as far as I know, this should last indefinitely, right? Just like this. Iodized salt's going to lose quality a little bit just because of the iodine in it, I think. But the sea salt is probably just going to be shelf stable like this for a really long time. We also have here honey. This is from a local producer. And this is going to last indefinitely, right? This is in a glass jar. It's it could crystallize right in here, but honey has natural like anti bacterial properties, right? Because the bees need to be able to have the honey last for a long time, and so they've evolved to to make this. so that it doesn't mold and things like that. In this container, it may crystallize, but you can just heat it up in a pot of hot water, and it'll liquefy again. And you can just store this away. So I'm buying these big bottles of this from somebody local, and it's going to be able to just be put in a shelf. And 20 years from now, I could use this if I need to, which who knows, I may. Another thing that seems like a pretty good idea is instant coffee, right? This coffee is horrible, but I just wanted to try, decaffeinated is something, I really don't want caffeinated coffee, but, you're gonna, I guess what I'm realizing, like cooking with this stuff in particular, is you want comfort, really, like when you're eating, right? I mean, you may be like survival eating, but you need some things, especially I think MREs, I felt like were really comfort food, right? That's almost kind of how they're made. But even just this regular stuff, you're gonna want to figure out how to like make it good and make it satisfying and make it something that you don't mind eating every day when things are bad too, right? I mean, if you're really like relying on this stuff because things have gotten so bad that you can't just go to the store, I mean, that can be stressful in and of itself, and you want to be able to enjoy your time and your food. So anyway, a little coffee. This also is in a glass container. It comes vacuum sealed. You probably wouldn't need to do anything to this, and it would probably last decades, right? So this unfortunately sucks, so I'm going to find a brand that is good, and then I will probably start giving that away. Tang, this is another thing I've decided that is probably going to be really good for me. Sometimes you want something sweet, you want a sweet drink, something like that. I think this is perfect. I haven't looked up about storing powders, really. Like, this is a powder that's not going to go bad because it's just like a base mineral salt. It's pretty stable. Something like Tang, though, eventually, like, it could clump or it could whatever. Oh, the 16th of February, 2023, right? On this one, so that's a couple years, right? So if I want to get more life out of it than it has in this plastic container, at the very least, putting it in one of these, I'm sure is better. But there are probably ways that you can vacuum seal it. I might just need to use those oxygen absorbers, but something to make this last. I think a drink mix like this would be really good. I think I was, just based on their serving directions and things like that. Again, I guess 15 servings per container. So if I wanted to have one serving of this per day, I would want one of these to go with like one of these, for instance, right? I think that's kind of an easy way to figure that out. So I would like to go ahead and make some mac and cheese. This is excellent. It's really good. This is easily my favorite meal that I've come up with so far. I'm using a rice cooker. This is something that I like using anyway. And if I can do any of this stuff in a rice cooker, I feel like it's all it requires is electric power. Okay, so as long as I have electric power, I'm able to use this. And if not, maybe there's certainly other ways to do this. You're just boiling water, right? But this is really convenient. So what we're going to do is 1/2 cup of macaroni. So this would be your coming along from storage. You've opened up your macaroni, and I just kind of want to like even off this 1/2 cup here. That's probably a little more than I need. Okay, just a really even 1/2 cup. So put that in there with a 1/2 cup plus just a little dash of water. There's 1/2 cup, and then I found just an extra dash. It just kind of helps it to not be a little too dry and crunchy. What I'm going to do is non-fat dry milk. This is something that also is going to be shelf stable for a long time. I think it's also something that you can find ways for preserving for long term. I have seen this sold in like sealed cans like this, maybe even specifically from that brand. And I'm going to use a tablespoon of that. And we're going to shake it kind of like that. And the reason I'm doing that is because it can clump up a little bit. So you want it to not clump up. So shake it around, maybe give it just a little stir there. You can see that's become kind of white. So I think that's a key thing. So far we have water, pasta, and some of this dry milk. Beyond this, I think what you're dealing with is kind of semi-optional things, right? I think something pretty simple, just a dash of salt I found is good while it's cooking. So just put in a little shake of salt. A little bit of pepper I find is good. Just do a couple of twists of that. One thing that I found is really, really good in this, really good, is these pepper. You can just cut up some pepper. You can use fresh jalapeno pepper, bell pepper of some kind. But this dried pepper works really well. We're gonna sprinkle this in like that. It doesn't like fully rehydrate like a crunchy piece of pepper, right? But it becomes soft again. It's nice and soft and has a lot of flavor. This pepper flavor is great. It smells great. If you think that any of these little dried things look unappetizing, trust me, the aroma, the flavor in this, and just being able to, you can even just put a bit of this in your mouth and crunch on it. It's really nice flavor. Just a little bit of onion as well, not a ton. But I think this really helps bring out the flavor in the cheese a little bit. This is like red onion. I think you could use whatever you want. I like prefer some kind of sweet onion personally, but I think you could use anything. All right, so we've pretty much got what we need in there, and we're just gonna set it to go. This takes about 10 minutes to cook. What I've found is that I do, when I'm using this, sort of measured water like this, is to leave it an extra like 5 minutes or something to really soak in that water, because it can be a little crunchy otherwise. But I think if you like this will end in about 10 minutes. Leave it, let it sit for another 5 minutes or so. It'll be nice and tender. Okay, so I may have misspoken earlier. I gave this more like 20 minutes. At 15 minutes it was still like bubbling a little bit. You really want to get it past that point. So give it about 20 minutes, get that all soaked in. So this is ready. What I'm going to do now is deal with some cheese. Now you can see here I've got this Augustin Farms freeze-dried shredded cheese. Now this is made for long-term storage. Shelf life up to 30 years, at a reasonable quality, I assume. I've opened this one. It is, it comes sealed, so, use a can opener to open it up. It's basically, like, these are crunchy, kind of squeaky on your teeth. But you can eat it like this. It tastes pretty good. But what you really want to do is, rehydrate this, and use it in your thing. Now, I've tried several ways of doing this. I've tried adding it directly in here so that it hydrates while it cooks. What tends to happen with that is the oil separates out, so you get kind of like this, this stringy, gooey cheese with like kind of the separated oil. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've tried rehydrating this the way that they recommend, just soaking it in some water. It's possible that I'm just too impatient and I don't want to wait like more than 20 minutes or so that this takes to cook to rehydrate this. Perhaps I really need to let it rehydrate for half hour or an hour or something like that to get the results I'm looking for. But I just have not been satisfied with this specifically for this macaroni and cheese. It is a Colby cheese too. I don't know. Maybe it's going to depend on the kind of cheese. What I would like to try is a cheese powder and see if that comes out a little bit more like what I enjoy for this, for instance. Let's say that all I had was this Colby cheese set aside 30 years from now, and I was hungry and I needed mac and cheese. It would get by absolutely in a pinch. What I'm using currently though is these American cheese slices. I just find that this is superior for this macaroni until I find an alternative that would be more of a long-term storage thing. But here you can see it is quite nice. You've got some of those peppers and onions in there. The macaroni is nice and plump, and the liquid is pretty much all been used up. We're going to lay these slices in this warm rice cooker, and they are going to melt. I'm just going to tear this one in half so we can spread it out just a little bit more. And we're going to put this back on. for about 3 minutes, and we will have our mac and cheese. Okay, so I've given this a few minutes, probably been more like 5 minutes on this, but you can see here that cheese is getting nice and melty. So let's go ahead and get this out of here. One thing that's really nice about this is that you get this nice baked sort of crust on the bottom, and if you do it right, you can pretty much take this all out in one piece, okay? And we're going to put it in this bowl, and as I break this up here, you're going to see this nice crust on the bottom, and it's really very, very good. Let's go ahead and dig into this. Just going to mix this up a little bit here. You can see that nice crust. And this just tastes absolutely as good as it looks. If this looks appetizing at all, it is wonderful. I would make macaroni and cheese like this all the time, irrespective of whether I'm using kind of emergency food supply or not. Remember, the main ingredients here were macaroni, which is great for long-term storage, that powdered milk, just some water, a little bit of salt, and I feel like the other things are kind of optional, but also things that I think hopefully you would have access to, especially if you're able to grow your own peppers and onions and things like that, and then store them for the winter at least, as is my plan with the dehydrator. And what I feel like is during a day, for instance, say that you're relying on these types of staple foods, which I think is pretty smart. You're gonna have several meals here. A meal of this mac and cheese is totally satisfying, especially with like a nice, maybe a sweet drink or something like that. You're gonna have made maybe pancakes at some point. Had some oatmeal. These are like breakfasts, snacks, small light meals, things like that. Some beans and rice, beans and cheese or something. What I do feel like though, as I did try out, for instance, the MREs, the Mountain House meals and things like that. There's other companies that make that kind of thing. Those are a little bit more like, the MREs in particular, you literally, all you need is water and you don't need to heat it up. Like, there's literally a chemical reaction that takes place in this pouch that heats the kind of entree portion of it. So that's really like, if you have access to nothing other than like a canteen of water, that's a little bit of a different situation. But those Mountain House things too, like, they're really just add water. Those are add hot water, so you're going to want fuel and water to heat it. But other than that, you're going to be able to get by with just that. But what I find about those meals that's nice, and I'm probably planning to stock up on, like, let's say some of the Mountain House meals, so that during my day, right, there's one meal that I'm going to want that's just sort of like easy, satisfying, especially maybe novel too, you're going to get sick of eating this stuff all the time, despite the fact that this macaroni and cheese is absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's kind of my plan. I'm putting in fruit trees. In fact, I just put some fruit trees in this weekend. I'm going to show off some footage of that, so we'll take a look at that, and kind of see how I'm starting to just consider how can I grow some of my own food. All right, let's take a look. Thanks for joining me. So today we're going to be putting in some fruit trees that I picked up. I'm a complete novice at this, but I'm trying to get prepared a little bit. We've got some interesting stuff here. These two trees here are plums. I decided that I wanted those. You can see it's two varieties. There's La Crescent plum and Juanetta plum. So I guess you need two different varieties to pollinate each other and produce fruit and things like that. And that's pretty much true, I think, with all of these plants. I also got these two hazelnut bushes. So they come out kind of like hedges. So I'm going to have to try to figure out where is going to be good to put those. And then I actually have only one of this, but this is a little special. It's a hardy kiwi. So it's a little unique, I guess, that they grow in this area, even though it's pretty cold here and snowy. It's more of a vine, and it needs something to climb on. There's actually, you need gendered plants, male and female, in order to produce fruit. This is actually only a female, Arguta northern kiwi. They just didn't have a male that we could find, so I'm gonna, just have them give me a call when they find a male, and then I'll put that one in the ground, whether it is in the fall right now or in the spring next year. We have some mulch. I got pine mulch, just 6 bags of it here, and we've got a bunch of stuff over here. There is some planting mix, which they said is supposed to be good, give it nutrients for about 5 years, just so the plants get a good start. We got a new hose here. This is my dad, that's his hand there. He's going to be giving me a hand. We've got some compost, so just kind of regular like manure compost, local from Vermont, and some kind of a root starter here. What is this? Organic Neptune seaweed plant food. So they said you can just kind of sprinkle this on the soil, once a day or something till the bottle is out. Again, I really want to get these, really good start getting transplanted here. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are. I have these plants kind of prepared in this little semicircle here. So you see where the bags are. I've had to get a lot of little rocks and roots and stuff out because, the soil's just rocky, and there's other plants around here. There's a lot, semi-lot. There's a patch of blackberry bushes here. So I've gotten a bunch of that mix in the hole. It was only about half the bag, but I don't know if I feel like digging a whole bunch more. So I think we're going to maybe do half a bag there for this one, half a bag for this one. And then I'll have some more for like the kiwi, because I actually only got 4 bags and I have 5 plants. I'll probably be putting 6 plants in total, so that should be fine. Let's go ahead and we'll put the hazelnut in, and then we'll start putting some of that other earth around it. Okay, so that hazelnut is situated in the hole. It's looking pretty good to me. We're going to fill in around it, and then we'll put some compost on top and some, whatever that stuff is, mulch. Okay, so we have some nice compost there all around the plant. So this is the second afternoon. So you can see here these 2 hazelnuts. And right over here is the La Crescent plum. So that's looking pretty nice. Got all the mulch around it. If we keep going here, there is the hardy kiwi. So same kind of treatment, and I've got the vine headed here toward this tree. I figure, I didn't figure I wanted to be too close to the tree, because it needs to be getting, sun and not competing with the roots for in the soil and stuff like that. But there's a few plants here that we're growing. I figure this will do fine there, and if it's heading in this direction, it ought to climb that tree, and that should be a good support for it. If I change my mind, I could build a little trellis right here and just, have it climb up that. And then over here is the other plum. This is the Juanetta plum. So you can see there. And there it is. Yeah, so I'm really happy to have those fruit trees in. I think that's going to enable me to just have some food, right? That's just for me. I don't need to rely on a store. I don't even need to rely on my neighbors in my local area. But I'm definitely going to be getting more, sort of local produce, and trying to garden and, harvest fruit trees and nuts and those sort of things, moving forward in preparation to just be able to get by here in what I think are going to be some unstable times. I hope this was helpful or interesting to you guys. I'm not saying you guys have to run out and start doing this, but obviously, just personally, I've decided that now is the time for this. It's important to me, and I'd be totally interested if you guys have started doing anything like this. If you're thinking about it, if this is totally new to you, If you think I'm crazy, any of those things, you know, I'm open to hearing that, and I hope that you guys will catch me again for mostly video game and anime related videos, but probably some, you know, some sustainable living, prepping, whatever you want to call it, videos here. I'd like to share this experience with you guys. Thanks for watching.